Okay, guys, let's, now we got those House hearings out of the way, let's get back focused on energy. Okay, we were on the Watson Amendment with its component parts, which we had separated, and we were particularly hung up a bit on the portion of the amendment at the beginning dealing with the nonprofit loan program, renewable energy efficiency and nonprofit loan program. Senator Watson, during the interim period, you've thought about that a little more. I'm going to yield to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had an opportunity to read the Kagan amendment in context of the entire bill. And it looks like with respect to the greenhouse gas emissions, the metrics that I wanted captured are captured. And that's the section you showed me, right, Devin? All right. So that being the case, I can't remember which amendment we're talking about of mine, but I'd like to withdraw that one because I think it's captured.
Talking about yes, Lamoria, Devin's going to.
So when last we left the show, we were dealing with 583125/1, which the committee divided into 4 parts. The first part begins on page, the crux of that part is 8, begins on page 8. And that would be the amendment that you would be withdrawing if that's what you're looking to do, Senator.
That is correct. So I'd like to make a motion to withdraw that amendment.
So you're moving to withdraw just the part that deals with the green and and energy efficiency program.
Correct, 10-869, I think, right? Page 8.
Okay, so everybody clear, so the portion, okay, Vice Chair Kagan?
I'm in the Watson Amendment, Mr. Chair, Devin. On page 3, 10-862 starts creating the fund and sets it up.
So what the Department of Legislative Services does when they do an amendment of this sort is they bring in all of the already agreed upon language. So they brought in all of that language and then added the section that Senator Watson.
I'm understanding. Thank you.
All right, so that portion was in the bill that we've already moved. Yeah, so, okay, so this portion, just the new part of the Watts Amendment dealing with, again, the renewable energy efficiency for nonprofits loan program is what we're talking about withdrawing. Excuse me. Correct, Senator Watson?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Okay, all in favor of accepting that motion to withdraw that portion of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, with that, let's move to the second prong of the Watson Amendment, which deals with the software permitting topic area. And
so if this begins on page 15 of 20.
15.
And if you recall, during the hearing and also yesterday, there were some concerns raised or reporting requirements raised. And so what this section does is it says on or before January 31 and each January 31 thereafter, each county and municipality shall submit an annual report to the Maryland Energy Administration detailing the total number of permits issued by the county or municipality for residential solar energy systems for the immediately preceding year. Once that is done, the administration, the Maryland Energy Administration, after consulting with each county or municipality that submits the report, would then use that information to provide an annual report of the total number of permits issued for residential solar energy systems in the state for the immediately preceding year.
Okay, Senator Watson, do you want to add anything to what Devin did to describe prong 2 of the Watson Amendment?
Devin, how hard is it to simply add and in addition to the total number of permits and the associated expected energy generation? It's like one sentence I think we're missing.
So, committee, the addition would be G2, prepare an annual report detailing the total number of permits issued. Well, actually, strike that. You would have to add it in G1 because you want the counties and the municipalities to total up the emissions, or do you want the administration to total the emissions?
The counties, because the administration is just going to get the total number of permits, right? That the administration is not going to get, all the nuances associated with, how much generation is going to be saved as a result of each permit.
However, the counties and municipalities may not have the expertise to be able to do that. That would be
I
in
would just
the
say, without
administration.
Mako here, I mean, I'm a little,
Okay.
don't know if they've got capacity to even do
No,
what you
so-
just asked.
So just educate me real quick. When we use the software to get a solar permit, is there somewhere in that software system where there's an indication of how much energy we're expected to generate?
I think in every permit that a residential, remember, we're talking residential rooftop solar. So we're
Right.
talking about things that are on people's homes. It's
Right.
kilowatts, not megawatts.
Right.
At best, it may just be watts. And the software would probably, and I don't know for sure, but it would probably be able to have the generating capacity associated with each system.
Okay.
So they would know, once they aggregate up, they would know that generating capacity for each system.
Yeah, I don't want to make it overly complicated, but you see the intent. I'm happy to leave it as is. At least they're at least going to start collecting the permits. And at appropriate time, or maybe even in conference, we can add that one line in.
I would say that this is an issue that the House did not address, and so it would be an issue that would come up again should you all have a conference committee. Bless you.
Okay.
Okay, with that, do you want to
pretty much
move
it.
this portion of the amendment?
I'd like to move this portion.
Okay, Senator Watson moves this portion of his amendment, prong 2, dealing with the software for solar permitting. Is there a second from Senator Harris? Further discussion just on this portion of the amendment? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of this amendment in its current form, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Let's go to prong 3.
That would be on page 17 of 20 of the amendment, and this strikes the word supervisor and adds officer for the purpose of restricting the compensation for utility executives.
Okay, Senator Watson, you want to add anything on this one?
Sure. So I think that when you look at officer, that's one bar. When you look at supervisor, that's another one. And what I'm trying to do is just kind of meet in the middle. We didn't have anything at first, right? And so this amendment simply uses the term officer as a distinction from supervisors.
Okay, Senator Hester?
Yeah, I would just say that there's nothing in the bill that prevents the utilities from paying bonuses and higher compensation out of the profits. And right now, like a lot of the Exelon company profits are doing very, very well. And so by changing this definition, you're changing the amount that they can, the number of people's bonuses and excessive compensation that you can rate base. So I've seen figures, that say that currently the savings for this is going to be anywhere between $1.70, maybe up to $1.70 to $2.50, a month. And so if you are, while I appreciate, the senators trying to meet in the middle, if we accept this amendment, we are reducing the amount that we can bring home to our ratepayers. And so I will be voting no on this amendment.
All right. And let me finally say, Mr. Chair, excessive compensation is very subjective, and I leave that to my committee members to determine, what that means for folks very, very skilled at what they do with respect to energy and energy generation. So I'd like to move the amendment.
Okay, there's a second from Senator Harris. Further questions, discussion on this amendment? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one, Memoria.
All right. Senator Kagan.
No.
Senator Kagan, no. Senator Hester.
No, and explaining my vote. It's totally up to the utilities how much they pay their people. It's just whether you want your ratepayers to pay for it, or you would prefer that the shareholders' profits go down just a tiny, tiny bit.
All right. Senator Gallion? Yes. Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson? Yes. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Tar? Yes. Senator Tar, yes. Senator Harris? Senator Harris, yes. Senator Brooks?
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza?
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Washington?
No.
Senator Washington, no. Senator Simonaire?
Yes.
Senator Simonaire, yes. And Senator Feldman?
Okay, I'll just abstain on this one, but it does pass, so 7-3. Okay, let's go to the final issue presented by the Watson Amendment.
This would be begin on the bottom of page 19 of 20 and continuing on 20. What this amendment says is that in the Empower program, contributions to greenhouse gas emission reduction goals and targets in an Empower plan for an electric company or gas company may now include the increased adoption of electric vehicles.
Okay, Senator Watson, I think you made a point earlier. We're going to rehash what you said earlier.
Yeah,
today.
this is just real simple. We were always told that the reason we wanted to get to move towards electric vehicles was to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And to not include the adoption of electric vehicles in that calculation doesn't give us, I think, as a state, a clear picture of how well we're doing towards that goal. So what I did was put that line back in. Page 20 of 20.
Okay, this language is at the top of page 20 of 20. You'll see, Devin, just correct?
So yes, that's beginning at the bottom of page 19, top of page 20. And what this section deals with is the recoverable programs and costs associated with the Empower program. So earlier, you've added community solar and behind-the-meter generation as a part of Empower. This would re-add electric vehicles as a part of Empower. Just note that this is not limited for 2 years. This would be in perpetuity.
Okay, we put that back on the community solar. If you recall, we did limit it to those first few years, and it wasn't beyond that period. This one is in perpetuity. Okay, that said, Senator Watson? Okay. Okay, we have Senator Watson moving this portion of the amendment. Senator Harris, seconds. And we're able to do a roll call on this one as well.
Okay. Senator Kagan?
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Hester?
No, I would support it for 2 years, but not in perpetuity.
Senator Hester, no. Senator Gallion? Yes. Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson? Yes. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Attar? Yes. Senator Attar, yes. Senator Harris? Senator Harris, yes. Senator Brooks?
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza?
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Washington?
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simonaire? Senator Simonaire, yes. And Senator Feldman?
Okay, it passes. Motion passes. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Kagan Amendment, which is also dealing with the Renewable Energy Efficiency for Nonprofits Loan Program. Okay, so we're going to go to Devin on the Kagan Amendment on that subject.
Committee members, this is on your desk, a separate amendment from the pile 723-727-1. The relevant provision is on page 3 of the amendment, and what this does is, as a part of the annual report that the Maryland Clean Energy Center has to submit to the governor and the General Assembly, it would add a summary of the Clean Energy Center's activities specific to the Green and Renewable Energy Efficiency for Nonprofits Loan Program, including the total number of loans awarded, the total monetary value of the loans awarded, the average term of loans in a loan portfolio, and the estimated annual energy savings in kilowatt hours, and the estimated reduction of greenhouse gas emissions associated with the program.
Okay, Senator Kagan, Vice Chair Kagan.
Move the amendment.
We got a motion from the Vice Chair, a second from Senator Watson. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of the Kagan Amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, we're going to next move to the Harris.
Move on.
I'm sorry?
Just a point of personal privilege before
Sure,
we move on.
sure.
I just, if I said anything that was problematic, I just want to apologize. I have such respect for Senator Watson, and I appreciate his collaboration and his knowledge of these issues. Thank you.
And by the way, when I was in the House of Delegates under the tutelage of Chair, the chair never voted, ever, so there's a little precedent on that. I don't want to set new precedent here, but I just want to say that it's, okay. With that said, we're going to go, now here's the thing. I know we did this segregation, but I've been advised by DLS that this presents huge nightmares. And therefore, for the remaining amendments, starting with the Harris Amendment, you're gonna either vote up or down, okay? We can't be doing like 10 different chops on this, so I'm just have to say that's the word from DLS. Do not do any more of that, what you did with the Watson Amendment, okay? So with that, I'm gonna turn to you, Devin, and you're gonna explain the Harris Amendment.
So Senator Harris, the amendment number is 683-221/1, 683-221/1. And it has several changes in it. The first change is on page 3 of 24. So if you recall, in Senate Bill 841 as passed by the committee, there was language that required the proceeds, any incentives that are given to a transmission owner to be given back to the ratepayers. There has been some legal concerns about that because it is may violate the takings clause of the Constitution. So I believe that is Senator Harris's intention to then mirror the House's language here. And so what this says is, as was in House Bill 1532, a person that owns or operates a transmission line that's designed to carry 69,000 votes or in excess of and is located in the state shall participate as a member in the regional transmission organization. Okay, also, lower in that same page, this amendment specifically states that the reductions or the changes into the Empower program do not apply to any gas company that has not, before January 2026, implemented the program. Actually, that should be right there. Why can I apply those? This part should actually, Senator Harris, this should say, if you're trying to exempt folks that have already, no, I guess it does work. It's sort of a double negative. Anyway, on or after July 1, 2026, the changes that you've made to remove gas companies do not apply to a gas company that has not, before January 21, 26, implemented a program or service in accordance with this part. So what that reads to me, and I will clarify it, is that any gas company that already has an existing Empower gas program would be exempt from the changes that you have done in removing gas companies from Empower. Okay, still going. The next change is on, oh, that was page 3 of 24 at the bottom. We are now moving to page 9 of 24. Once you all there? So this changes the percentages for the reductions in the Empower program, and it mirrors what the House bill did. And instead of having it end at and going from 1.75 to 2.5, or stair-stepping up small that way, this would require the percentage to be 1.75 from 2026 to 29, 2% to 2030 to 32, 2.25% from 23 to 25, and then in 2036, rather than 2030, goes back to the 2.5%. Next change. It's a simple change on page 11 of 24. It clarifies that when you added community solar to the empowerable criteria, that it's new community solar, not existing community solar. The next change is on page, so there are technical changes throughout the rest of the bill to add the gas provisions back in to cover that one provision in the bill that would allow for a gas company that already has an Empower program to continue. The last change is on the last page of the bill, and it just says that the MEA may require that applicants applicants to the energy storage grant program would participate in other programs or tariffs established in under 711005, which is just including energy storage as part of the program and allows them to be to get the same benefits.
Okay, questions for Devin? Okay, Senator Gallion.
So as we go through the amendments, is this the last amendment we're going to be taking up that deals with Empower?
Yes.
Okay, so I can ask this now. So we've heard this number, $12.50 a month, $150 a year savings. With this change, what are the projected savings? Does that number stay the same, or does it change that?
That's a good question that I'm not thought through yet. I think by the change in it's extending the power to 2036, it would definitely reduce the ratepayer cost associated with it, because yours stopped at the amendment that the senators have put on, the committee has put on, would lower it because you've added an additional 6 years of stair stepping. So automatically that would result in reduced rates.
Thank you.
This is relative to that 2030 that we had first time around. This is by elongating it, it's going to result in the decrease of the cost and therefore downward pressure on the surcharge. Okay, additional questions for Devin? Okay, Senator Harris, you would like to move your amendment?
Yep, move the amendment.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, second from Senator Brooks. Discussion? Okay, let's take a roll call on this one, so everybody's on the record.
All right, Senator Kagan?
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Hester? Yes. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Gallion? Yes. Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson? Yes. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Attar? Yes. Senator Attar, yes. Senator Harris? Senator Harris, yes. Senator Brooks? Yes. Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza? Yes. Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Washington? Yes. Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simonaire? Senator Simonaire, yes. And Senator Fowler?
Yes. Okay, that carries unanimously, which brings us to our final amendment from Senator Washington. Devin?
The amendment is the final amendment that you should have that you haven't looked at, 273-00022/1. 273-022/1. The beginning of the relevant provisions of this amendment begins on page 20 of 37.
20.
Senator Washington.
Yeah.
So this amendment deals with the residential rooftop solar program. What this amendment says is that nothing in this residential rooftop solar program may be construed to waive, limit, or supersede any requirement under federal or state environmental laws or regulations governing the review or approval of applications, conceptual plans, or permitting for projects or programs associated with the construction of facilities, substations, conductors, or transmission lines, including laws and regulations that pertain to stormwater, watershed sediment, nuisance abatement, wetlands and waterways, and notices of hearings. And that the county or municipality implementing the solar permitting software shall continue to apply any environmental requirements. The second part of this change is on page 35 of 37. And this deals with the change of the law dealing with transmission lines. So if you recall, you've removed the brackets around, or you bracketed around overhead. So now underground transmission lines are subject to the Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity law. This says, J says the similar language. Nothing in this section can be construed to waive, limit, or supersede any requirement of the federal, state environmental laws or regulations governing application, filing, the review or approval of route selection, historical or conservation easements, or the Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, including provisions in the environmental article and the natural resources article regarding upgrades to transmission lines. Below it, it inserts to pay the cost associated with the transfer of the administration of the Electric Universal Service Program from the Public Service Commission to the Office of Home Energy Programs. So that continues on to page 36. And then on page 36, it adds language, uncodified language that would require the usage of funding from alternative compliance fees to provide funding to initiate the transfer of the administration and to provide funding for administrative software and staffing expenses for the administration. And then it gives the governor the authorization to do so in this year's current budget.
Okay, so Senator Washington, one question that's going to has to be put out. There's budgetary items in here, but we've already passed the budget. So
Bless you.
just saying, that I just have to put it out there, okay?
Yeah, I mean, again, the budget moved a lot quicker than it normally does, so when it drafted these, whatever, last Friday, and, I mean, we heard in caucus, it was expectation there'd be time to put it into that section. Why I raised it is that there was, in this year's budget, 1.2 million authorized to MDE to implement any changes that would be would be the result of the new solar permitting. So given that this is about an existing program that a lot of our constituents use, and we all know that transferring between agencies isn't without some kind of cost. So I don't know what to say about that. Clearly, yeah, I mean, I would say that section, there just had to be a quick way to try to amend it, since I wasn't able to get it into the budget language that authorized the money for MDE. So what would be the recommendation?
Okay, well,
Strike it? Like, I don't.
I'm not, beyond budget, okay, Devin, are there other aspects of the amendment? I just,
So with regard to the budget, the funding transfer, the Department of Human Services has indicated that they can implement the program without any funding changes.
I mean,
That's what I have.
all right, so then we strike that. I mean, if we can't do it, the budget is gone, we can't do it.
That is correct.
When it was authored and we were in when it was submitted to budget, to the budget committee, then we became aware last night or something that we
okay, I mean,
couldn't
I'm
do
not,
it.
I totally get it, I'm just, we are where we are, the budget's
Right,
passed,
so
so I
just
think
strike it.
to a large extent, large portion of the amendment is, you can't really pass this, that
Yeah,
portion of
right.
it. As far as the various environmental components of some of the other parts of the bill, and I just need to know, existing law, like, how does this stack up with existing law?
So the change for the residential rooftop solar program is unnecessary because residential rooftop solar programs do not go through the same environmental review because they're putting residential rooftop solar panels on people's homes. There's no environmental review, but there are county reviews to ensure, and those county reviews are set forth in the amendments that you've all passed regarding the software and within existing county and local law. The second amendment that deals with the transmission lines, once you removed overhead from the transmission line, you encompassed underground transmission lines under the entirety of the Certificate in Public Convenience and Necessity Program, which, or law, which has this language in it.
So, Chair and colleagues, it's not unprecedented for us whenever we make a change, when there are changes, to make a statement that's very clear that this does not do anything to circumvent existing law. And the other thing is that I think potentially the first one was drafted not to the correct part of the bill. And the intent was that, as I had explained earlier, that it should have been, it just has, yeah, it certainly has to be with the enforcement, yes, of solar, of the transmission lines altogether, not just underground transmission lines. It's that whole section around transmission lines is where that was intended. Anywhere where there is a accelerated or change potential to the local permitting process, which that, yeah. So on pages, now this was written to, the portion of 841 that addresses transmission line infrastructure and the CPN process, right? So that is meant for that whole process. So there's a lot of new definitions in section 7.7-207 that has to do with the construction and permitting of transmission lines.
Nothing has changed with regard to even in any instance where advanced transmission technologies have been added as something that transmission lines would be considered. There is no avoiding the Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity process, which includes those items that you have placed in that amendment. So it's fine under current law because they still have to do all of those things in preparing for that CPCN.
Well, there's there's something new that's called a good cause waiver that has, I think you heard about the impacts of variances in these types of projects. And so that, to me, is why it's important to be very clear about in the issuance of waiving any kind of CPN requirement, if you look on the page, for construction related to existing overhead transmission lines for good cause with no criteria specified. And there is also saying that the considerations that they are saying that they must consider, which is part of the new language, is that there's an impact on environment, but that's not specified as the impact on the environment. And it also says any other matters that the commission considers appropriate. And so what this amendment is meant to do is to articulate a legislative intent that the things that are should be considered as relevant would be stormwater, watershed settlement, nuisance, wetlands, and notices and hearings.
Okay, so Senator Washington, reading just Devin was saying, okay, we have the budget issue. He's saying that the language is unnecessary because it's in current law. I mean, I'm just presenting what I'm hearing Devin articulating. Is it possible if there's some part of this that I think that the amendment would need to be redrafted? Maybe we could work on something for a floor amendment. I just don't think that the amendment, because admittedly, in all fairness to you, you drafted this before the budget passed, and that's understandable. The other part of it, I mean, I'm just trying to put out an option here, because I think this, in its current form, is not something that I think is problematic for all the reasons we just talked about.
Well, we just went through a process where we took apart a bill. So, I mean, I would say, obviously, getting rid of the portion having to do with the amendment would need to go. And I don't think it's not unusual to establish legislative intent when it comes to new things. I disagree that existing CPM requirements really, when it comes to the conceptual plans, the siting, the conceptual plans and the applications, which is what this is specifically talking about, the review of the approval of the applications, the conceptual plans, and the permitting. Under current law, it's focused just on the construction, so it's communities or environmentalists or other stakeholders don't get to see anything or have a review of anything until it's already been approved for construction. So this takes it farther. There are these review processes that happen before anything is permitted or, yeah, so that's what this is allowing for.
Okay, well, as I said earlier, because DLS's instruction, this is true of the Harris Amendment, we need to take this up or down, and so if you want to take
Is
you
what?
could take a roll call. I mean, I'm offering that to you. You can move your amendment. You can take it's your option here. I mean, right
Where's
now,
my-
we
where's
either
my
have to move the amendment or not move the amendment or vote the amendment. That's what we have in front of us.
So, where is this instruction coming from?
Well, as I said, because we did this, breaking up large amendments into component parts, that presents a tremendous number of logistical problems from a DLS standpoint for purposes of putting the bill back together and getting it moving to the floor. And so why I said about the Harris Amendment, because there were folks who would want to break that portion, that amendment apart, I said we're going to have, some of these amendments have to just be voted up or down, and that's why I made this, the comment that I did. And so,
Well, do I have 6 votes for this amendment?
well, I mean, you could move your amendment and we'll see.
Oh, no.
And that's
I?
where we're at.
I mean, do I have 6 votes for this amendment?
What's your amendment? Sarah Hester.
So, Senator, I appreciate your amendment, and I'm worried about the budget side, and I'd rather not vote it down in committee, but if we could work offline, I think that the non-budget comments on this, I think.
I agree, and I was willing, which is what we just did, we eliminated something. So it is interesting. We broke it apart, we voted it, and so now all of a sudden, now we don't have time to break it apart and try to clean it up or vote it. So
Well,
It
I
would
said that
be-
about the Harris Amendment. People wanted to break it into
Well-
10 parts, but, we're not at a place.
Senator
of-
Harris could have raised the same concern, and I would have if I was Senator Harris. So, again, so that everyone hears this, because apparently things I say on the floor, I have to be very clear about my expectation here, would be that this amendment will be drafted for a floor amendment that will be accepted as a friendly amendment by the committee.
We can't do, I mean, we have to take a vote. We haven't taken a vote. And everybody needs to know exactly what we're voting on, which is hard. I mean, I'm just putting options here. No, we can't, I don't think we can operate that way because we haven't taken any kind of a vote. And I don't see anything we've done to date.
Well, I guess for the record that I think a good policy should not be dictated by how long it takes to print something. And that I think I've been here long enough where we have taken great time to make sure that members have an opportunity to have their best work be, or have their work be included. So I do have concerns about the rush to permitting, that it's not clear that public notice, and that we could do things to improve that. I raised this a while ago about wanting to articulate at different places that this very language of not, that it should not be construed to waive anything, so you're saying, yeah, so we'll
Well, we have an amendment.
have an
We
amendment.
either move an amendment or we don't move an amendment.
Well, we
And
can't move an
so
amendment with,
I agree with that. So I think what
so
Senator
can we
Hester
just
was,
strike that part?
what Senator Hester was suggesting is between now and it's likely second reader is not going to be until Friday because it's going to take, we're going to do probably some between now and Friday, if you want to work, well, because we're probably not going to be able to get this to the floor till Thursday. And quite frankly, it's likely it's going to be laid over till Friday. So between now and Friday, if you want to work on something that embodies what you're trying to achieve, I think that's the best shot to get what you're trying to do onto the bill. But right now, in its current form, the amendment, based on what Devin is saying, is not quite ready for prime time for a vote. That's all. I can't really say anything
The
clearer at
amendment
this
is
point.
drafted
Correct.
and
So,
not necessarily as
Yeah.
conveyed.
So,
So, okay, again, I just register that there's a disparate treatment being taken on this, and just even within this period, I don't think it's fair. And I'm not going to prolong this anymore. So
okay.
the
So
chair
we're,
can either call for a vote or
well, I'm not, unless there's a motion to move it in a second, I'm not doing anything. That, you're the sponsor of the amendment. Okay, so for now, let's table this, but let's at least maybe Senator Hester, Senator Washington could work on something for a floor amendment, likely on Friday.
So there's a motion to table this until what?
Well, I don't think we need a motion. There's nothing
Well,
before us, okay?
I need a motion.
Okay.
So there's a motion to table this until what time? Until we-
Well, there's no motion to table anything. We're not, this is the extent. We need to move this bill.
I understand.
We need to move the bill, so there's
And
no,
also, I have a responsibility, as we all do, to ensure that there are not any unintended consequences based on what we passed. And so being careful and assuring that the laws that we have spent a long time to protect the environment, to ensure both local easements, that, you know, all the things that really matter to our constituents, that we are not unintentionally putting them at a disadvantage and able to, so there are changes in here that facilitate a faster process, that suggest or could possibly empower those who already use variances to circumvent environmental controls in the name of, you know, not slowing down progress. And I very much believe we have a responsibility to protect those. So that's the intention of these amendments. And if the game here is that I have to redraft them, and we will draft them ourselves and submit it to DLS. And if there's an opportunity for there to be a vote with this committee tomorrow or some other time, we also do that outside of traditional meetings, if that's an opportunity, or I'll take it to the floor, so.
that's fair. Okay, Vice Chair Kane, why don't you have the last word on this, and we, if you want to
Thank
say
you,
anything
Mr. Chair.
else.
I think, like all of us, I've been hearing from a lot of people, and Senator Washington, I think the questions that you're raising and the concerns that you've raised are things that a lot of us have worried about and thought about. I just wanted to suggest that it's possible that you helped inspire Delegate Fraser Hidalgo, and you might want to chat with him because it seems like there may be some movement in the direction of some of what you're trying to look at.
House side?
On the House side.
Yeah, that
So,
seems to be where I have
Yeah, so I
Well-
think that's as of like super recently, so maybe that's a good place to look. Yeah.
This committee will hear those.
Okay, and this is going to
Thank
a
you, Mr.
conference
Chair.
committee with the House from that committee, and, okay,
Something just comes out.
I understand. Okay, with all that said, we have the extent of all the amendments that we've gotten printed copies of. Is there a motion to move 841 with the amendments that we've adopted? Okay. Okay, Senator Hester has moved the bill as amended, 841. Is there a second? Senator Harris. Let's do a roll call on this one.
All right, Senator Clayton? Aye. Senator Clayton, yes. Senator Hester? Yes. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Gallion?
Get some of these bills that are just tough. There's parts of them you like, parts you don't really like, parts you're not sure about. But the litmus test on this bill for me coming in was, was it gonna lead to demonstrable ratepayer savings? And I'm still just not quite sure it does. So, we're not beholden by our committee vote, and we'll see how the debate and possible amendments go on the floor. But at this time, I'm voting no.
All right, Senator Watson? Yes. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Attar? Senator Attar, yes. Senator Harris? Senator Harris, yes. Senator Brooks? Yes. Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carrizo?
Yes, and to explain my vote, I also am hopeful that we can look at floor amendments that would increase the savings.
All right, Senator Washington? Abstain. Senator Washington abstains. Senator Salmonero?
Yeah, explaining my vote, I'm going to vote yes. I've had constituents contact me about this bill, and they wanted more, but at the end of the day, they did appreciate the 150, so.
Okay, chair votes yes. Bill passes 9-1 to 9-11. Okay, with that, thank you for this work. And then,
House Bill 1.
oh, yes. Okay, now we're going to conform this bill, we're going to take HB 1532, the Speaker's bill, and we're going to conform this product with that product. So I need a motion to conform from the Vice Chair. Is there a second from Senator Harris?
Can I see a printout?
Okay. All in favor of the motion to conform, raise your hand. Okay, that motion carries. The other thing is I do have a request from at least one senator, Senator Guile, to be a co-sponsor of this, of 841. Is there anybody else who would like to be added right now? It's Ferguson, Feldman, Hester, and Guile. And we're going to go, you ready? Kagan, Watson, Harris, Brooks, Washington. Anybody else? Okay, so all in favor of the sponsor amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that's on, okay, we did that on the,
So I'm sorry,
okay.
Mr. Chair.
we need to move the actual.
Yes, we
yeah,
do, but
part-
Brooks, Kagan, Harris, Washington, Watson. Okay,
Okay, I think, and Washington.
Washington.
And Simon Air.
I got Washington.
Okay, so all in favor of that, we'll put that on 841. But back to House Bill 1532, we actually have to, we conformed it, but now we have to actually move.
We have to move it
That
as, move it favorable with amendments.
Favorable with amendments. Vice Chair Kagan, second from Senator Harris. All in favor of 1532 as amended, raise your hand. Okay, all opposed. We've got Gallion in the dissent.
Senator
And
Washington
Senator Washington's
abstains.
abstaining. And that completes the energy bill. Now, don't leave. We have a couple of.
I'm leaving.
He's leaving. We do have a couple of. Okay, we do have a couple of consent calendars that would be nice. These are bills that passed, House bills that we had the cross files passed unanimously, et cetera, et cetera. And we need a list. Where's our list? We need, okay, so we're going to get the list handed out, and then we can kind of keep moving the bills out of here, House bills. And this will be the last thing we do today, these consent calendars.
Chair, still got that mic on, just so you know.
Okay, guys, take a look through here if there's anything you want to separate out. Again, these should be House bills that are cross files of bills that we passed unanimously on the Senate side. Consent calendars 19, 20, 21. Okay, where'd April go? Oh, okay. Well, we want to start with, where's April? Oh, there she is. I'm looking around, used to sit. Okay, April, let's start with voting list 19. That's all your bills, so why don't we start there? Is there anything, just to everybody take a look through here to see if there's any questions you have of anything on here, anything you want to separate out. And again, to be accurate, these are all unanimous votes on from the cross-filed bills. The Senate
All
bills.
unanimous in the committee.
And all unanimous in committee. You can move a favorable on the consent report. We got Senator Simon-Air, a second from Senator Harris. Okay, all in favor of consent calendar number 19, raise your hand.
A, B, or C? A, or all of it?
19 is A, consent calendar A.
19, just 19. Okay. Okay, that passes unanimously. Now, we're going to move to voting list number 20 from Stacy. So if there are any questions on voting list number 20, consent calendar 20, these are all bills assigned to Stacy. If you want to separate anything out, any questions for Stacy? Okay, seeing none. Okay, Senator Simon-Air moves favorable, second from Senator Harris. All in favor of consent calendar number 20? Raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries unanimously. And then finally, voting list number 21, also Stacy's portfolio. Any questions? Anything want to be segregated? Okay, seeing none. There a motion from Senator Simon-Air, second from Senator Harris. All in favor of consent calendar number 21, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously, and with that, that completes our work for today.